Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to Jinjin's Cosmic. If you didn't happen to be here, perhaps it's time to meet your soul. The soul does not speak in words you can hear. It speaks in energy. It speaks in silence. And if you are here, it is because you have either felt that silence descend upon you, or you are the one who wields it. Have you ever been in a room with someone, looked them in the eye, and known with a certainty that chills your bones that they are no longer there? The body is present, but the soul has already departed. That is the Scorpio goodbye. It is not an absence. It is an exorcism. This is not a simple list of personality clashes. We are not here to discuss petty annoyances. We are here to decode the sacred laws of the Scorpio soul and to reveal the 4 energetic signatures that commit the ultimate treason against them. These are not just zodiac signs. They are archetypes of violation. They break the unspoken contracts that Scorpio holds as scripture. Before we descend into the underworld of this truth, I ask you this. If you are a Scorpio who has built these walls of silence, or if you are someone who has stood before them, forever locked out, go to the comments now and write, "I understand the silence." Your soul was meant to be here. Let the others know they are not alone. Today, we journey into the heart of the shadow to understand the hate that is not hate, but a final, soul-level verdict. What happens when you trespass on sacred ground? Scorpio will not cast you out. They will simply make the holy land you stand on vanish beneath your feet. Let us begin. Gemini, the violation of unseen truth. There is a law that governs the Scorpio universe. A law more fundamental than gravity. It is the law of unseen truth. This law dictates that what is unsaid is more real than what is spoken. That the currents of energy moving beneath the surface are the only true conversation. And then, there is Gemini. At first, Gemini is not an enemy. Gemini is magic. They arrive like a shower of falling stars, brilliant, dazzling, a whirlwind of wit and charm that can talk its way into any heart. To the deep, still waters of Scorpio, Gemini's energy is a fascinating spectacle, a beautiful, unpredictable fireworks display. But Scorpio knows that fireworks are just momentary flashes of light that leave the darkness behind them even deeper. And as they watch the show, one question echoes in the stillness of their soul. What truth are you hiding behind all this noise? This is where the first crack in the foundation appears. You must understand, Scorpio is the keeper of the underworld, the realm of Pluto. It is a realm of secrets, of treasures buried deep, of truths so potent they can only be handled with reverence. Scorpio does not just listen to your words, they weigh them. They feel their density. They are searching for the gold of authenticity. Gemini, ruled by Mercury, the messenger, treats words like currency to be spent freely. They are masters of the transaction, the conversation, the quick exchange. Their words are like glitter, beautiful, plentiful, and thrown into the air with joyful abandon. But to Scorpio, who is mining for the soul's gold, glitter is not just worthless, it is an insult. It gets in their eyes. It covers everything in a fine layer of superficiality, making it impossible to see what is real. A Scorpio I once knew described their relationship with a Gemini in a way that I will never forget. They said, "It was like living in a hall of mirrors. Every day, he showed me a new reflection of himself. A poet in the morning, a flirt in the afternoon, a philosopher by night. He promised me the world, but he offered a different world every day. When I finally asked him, "Who are you?" he just laughed and said, "Isn't this fun?" But it wasn't fun. It was spiritual vertigo. I felt like I was falling in love with 1,000 beautiful ghosts and not a single living soul. This is the core of the violation. For Scorpio, a bond is a sacred vessel meant to hold the deep, intense waters of their emotions. Gemini, the eternal twin, the master of duality, constantly drills tiny, imperceptible holes in this vessel with their shifting words, their casual promises, their light-hearted dismissal of what Scorpio considers sacred. They don't mean to cause a leak. They are simply an air sign, and their nature is to be everywhere at once, to be light, to be free. But to a water sign like Scorpio, this constant, scattered energy doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like an erosion of trust. Scorpio craves a single, profound truth. Gemini presents them with 1,000 fascinating possibilities. To Scorpio, a person who changes their mind so easily doesn't seem adaptable. They seem to lack a core. They aren't evolving. They are evading. They are not revealing themselves. They are running from themselves. And Scorpio, the master of transformation, has no patience for those who refuse to stand still long enough for their own soul to catch up with them. When the moment of judgment comes, it will not be loud. There will be no fight, no dramatic confrontation. Scorpio will simply stop responding to the noise. They will observe the fireworks from a distance until the show is over. And when Gemini turns around, expecting an audience, they will be met with a silence so profound, so absolute, that it swallows all of their clever words whole. They will be left standing in the dark, wondering where the warmth went, not realizing that Scorpio has simply vanished back into the depths where words are meaningless and only the unseen truth remains. Soul lesson from sign number 1. Not all deception arrives as a lie. Sometimes it comes as a dazzling storm of words that says everything and means nothing. Scorpio teaches us that 1,000 beautiful promises cannot outweigh one single unspoken truth. Charm without substance is not magic. It is a curse. And if your words move faster than your soul, do not be surprised when you lose the people who were listening for your heartbeat, not your voice. Libra, the violation of sacred authenticity. The second sacred law in the Scorpio cosmos is the law of sacred authenticity. This law decrees that truth, no matter how ugly, how chaotic, or how disruptive, is holy. It states that the mask is the ultimate blasphemy, and that any peace built upon a foundation of pretense is not peace at all, but a beautifully decorated prison. And into this sacred temple of truth walks Libra. On the surface, Libra is a vision of perfection. Ruled by Venus, they are grace embodied. They are the diplomats of the Zodiac, the artists of harmony, the architects of beauty. They move through the world with a smoothness that can calm the most savage beast, and a smile that feels like a blessing. Most of the world is enchanted by this, but Scorpio is not most of the world. Scorpio looks at the flawless performance and asks a single, terrifying question. What is the price of all this peace? And the answer they feel, deep in their soul, is truth. To understand this conflict, you must understand the different realms these two signs inhabit. Scorpio, a water sign, lives in the emotional underworld. They are comfortable with the shadows, the monsters, the raw, messy, beautiful chaos of true feelings. They believe that healing comes from lancing the wound, from diving into the poison to find the antidote. Libra, an air sign, lives in the world of ideals. They are the curators of the perfect social gallery. Their mission is to create balance, harmony, and aesthetic pleasure. They believe that conflict is a failure of elegance, that ugliness should be hidden away, and that the highest goal is to keep the surface of the water perfectly still and beautiful, even if a war is raging in the depths below. To Scorpio, this is not just a difference in opinion, it is a profound spiritual betrayal. It feels like gaslighting of the soul. Imagine a Scorpio who has just wrestled with their demons, who comes to their Libra partner, their heart raw and bleeding, offering up their darkness as a sacred gift of trust. And in return, Libra, with a gentle smile, says, "Let's not focus on the negative. Everything will be okay." They adjust the lighting, put on some calming music, and talk about something pleasant. They believe they are offering healing, but what Scorpio feels is the most profound rejection imaginable. They have shown their soul, and Libra has recoiled, offering them a beautifully wrapped box of denial. A Scorpio man once described it to me this way: loving her was like living in a perfectly decorated house, where you were forbidden to ever say that you felt cold. The temperature was always set to a pleasant 72 degrees, even when I was shivering. If I said, "I'm hurting," she would say, "But everything around us is so beautiful." She wasn't lying. She was curating. But I wasn't an art piece to be placed in her gallery. I was a soul who needed to burn, to rage, to weep. She was so terrified of the fire that she tried to extinguish me with politeness. And that I could never forgive. Libra's fatal flaw in the eyes of Scorpio is their avoidance of righteous conflict. They stir the pot with their indecision, their people-pleasing, and their passive aggression. But the moment the water begins to boil, they claim to want no part of the drama. They will say, "I'm fine," with a tight smile, when they are seething with resentment. They will say, "It's not a big deal," when they feel deeply slighted. They are not trying to be malicious. They are desperately trying to maintain equilibrium. But Scorpio does not seek equilibrium. They seek transmutation. They know that true balance doesn't come from avoiding the darkness, but by integrating it. They need to see your rage. They need to feel your pain. They need to know that the person standing before them is real, not a representative from the embassy of pleasantries. When a Scorpio finally decides that they cannot trust the face a Libra presents, the departure is silent and absolute. They will not argue. They will not scream. They will not cause a scene, because to do so would be to engage in the very performance they have come to despise. Instead, they will simply retract their energy. The warmth will vanish. The intense, focused gaze will become a mirror, reflecting Libra's own polished surface back at them. And Libra will be left in their beautiful, silent, perfectly balanced room, suddenly feeling a cold they cannot explain, never understanding that the fire they were so afraid of was the only thing keeping them warm. Soul lesson from sign number 2. Not every enemy comes at you with a sword. Some come with a smile, a compliment, and a gentle refusal to acknowledge the truth. Scorpio teaches us that it is better to bleed in a battle for what is real than to suffocate in a palace of beautiful illusions. Peace without truth is the cruelest prison of all. Aries, the violation of soul sovereignty. The third law etched into the heart of every Scorpio is the law of soul sovereignty. This law declares that the inner world of the soul is a sacred, fortified kingdom. It has walls. It has gates. It has a throne room where the deepest truths reside. Entry is not given. It is earned through trust, reverence, and patience. And charging at these gates with fire and a battering ram is Aries. There is a primal magnetism between Scorpio and Aries. They are the two signs ruled by Mars, the planet of war, passion, and desire. They are brothers in arms, and they recognize the warrior in each other's eyes. This recognition sparks an intense, powerful, and often explosive attraction. Aries is the fire that rages on the battlefield. Scorpio is the silent, strategic force that commands the shadows. Together, they feel like they could conquer the world, but they forget they are fighting two very different kinds of wars. Aries, the first sign of the Zodiac, is pure, unadulterated impulse. They are the divine spark, the explosive beginning. When they feel something, they act. When they think something, they speak. There is no filter between their inner world and their outward expression. To them, this is honesty, this is passion, this is life itself. To Scorpio, whose inner world is a carefully guarded fortress, this is a violation. It is spiritual violence. Imagine you have spent your life building a sacred temple within yourself, a place of quiet contemplation and deep secrets. And then you meet someone who, in the name of passion, kicks down the door, runs screaming through the hallowed halls, and demands to know every secret at once. That is what an Aries can feel like to a Scorpio. Aries' raw, unfiltered energy doesn't feel refreshing. It feels like a desecration of a holy space. A Scorpio woman shared this story. He was the most alive person I had ever met. He made me feel a passion I thought was dead. But his passion had no aim. When we argued, he used words like weapons of mass destruction. He would say the one thing he knew would shatter me, just to win the moment. 5 minutes later, he would have forgotten it, ready to laugh and move on. But I couldn't forget. He hadn't just thrown a verbal punch. He had set fire to a room in my soul's temple, and he kept doing it. Over time, I realized he didn't want a queen to rule beside him. He wanted a kingdom to conquer. And my soul is not for sale, and it is not for conquest. Here lies the fundamental power struggle. Aries leads with force. Scorpio leads with power. Force is loud, external, and demanding. Power is quiet, internal, and magnetic. Aries tries to dominate a situation. Scorpio is the situation. When Aries pushes, Scorpio doesn't push back. They become denser, heavier, an immovable object of silent resistance. This drives Aries insane. Aries needs a reaction. They need the fire to be met with fire. But Scorpio will not give them the satisfaction of a loud battle. They will retreat into the shadows of their fortress, observing, analyzing, and strategizing. Aries wants a fistfight. Scorpio gives them a chess match. Aries thrives on momentum. Scorpio thrives on mystery. The silence that Scorpio deploys against an Aries is not the same silence they use on a Gemini or Libra. With the others, the silence is a departure. With Aries, it is a weapon. It is a cold, strategic withdrawal of energy designed to make the aggressor feel their own reckless force echoing in an empty chamber. It is a power move of the highest order. Can this warrior duo ever find peace? Only if Aries learns that true strength is not in the force of the attack, but in the wisdom to know when to kneel at the temple gate and ask for permission to enter. And only if Scorpio learns to trust that not all fire is meant to burn them. Some is meant to light their way. But it is a rare truce. More often than not, Scorpio concludes that no matter how thrilling the passion, nothing is worth the cost of having your sacred sovereignty violated. They will not fight for the throne. They will simply vanish from the kingdom, leaving the impulsive warrior to rule over an empire of ash. Soul lesson from sign number 3. Not every war is meant to be won, and not every fire is meant to warm you. Scorpio teaches us that if someone's passion feels more like a violation than an invitation, they are not your twin flame. They are your soul's most sacred boundary being tested. True power is not about fighting back. It is about refusing to let the battle enter your gates. Sagittarius, the violation of eternal bonding. We arrive at the final sacred law, the one that underpins Scorpio's very reason for being, the law of eternal bonding. This law states that love is not a season. It is not a journey. It is a destination. It is a merging of souls so complete that it transcends time and space. It is a bond meant to be permanent, a legacy carved into the fabric of eternity. And dancing through this sacred space, leaving footprints that fade with the morning mist, is Sagittarius. The attraction here is one of opposites. Sagittarius, ruled by the expansive Jupiter, is freedom incarnate. They are the wild horse, the rolling stone, the eternal adventurer chasing the next horizon. To the intense, deep, and sometimes possessive Scorpio, Sagittarius feels like a breath of the freshest air. Their laughter is infectious, their optimism is boundless, and their no-strings-attached philosophy feels, at first, like a liberation from the weight of Scorpio's own intensity. It's intoxicating, until the fresh air becomes a cold, relentless wind that never, ever stays. The violation committed by Sagittarius is perhaps the most painful of all, for it is not done with malice. It is done with a smile. Scorpio does not date. They do not see people. They conduct soul interviews for a lifelong position. When they choose someone, they are not just offering their time, they are offering their soul for a merger. They are thinking in terms of legacy, of forever. They are building a home. Sagittarius, on the other hand, is a beloved and welcome guest in many homes. But they are terrified of building their own. They don't fall in love with a person. They fall in love with the world. And people are the beautiful landscapes they visit along the way. The heartbreak begins when Scorpio offers the key to their kingdom, and Sagittarius accepts it, but only uses it to rest for a while before their next journey. A Scorpio man captured this wound perfectly. He said, "She was the most brilliant woman I'd ever known. Being with her was like standing on a mountaintop. But every time I tried to build a foundation with her, I realized she was just admiring the view before hiking to the next peak. She wasn't in my life. She was passing through it. I would share a deep fear or a hidden dream, and she would listen with genuine warmth. But I could feel her soul was already packing its bags. She would say, 'I need space.' But what I heard was, 'I do not choose you.' I finally realized I wasn't her home. I was just a beautiful stop on her endless road trip, and my soul is not a tourist destination. This is the core wound. Abandonment. When Scorpio feels Sagittarius pulling away, it doesn't just feel like a breakup, it feels like a soul amputation. It triggers their deepest fear that they are too much, too intense, too deep for anyone to truly stay. And it's not because Scorpio is clingy. It is because their love is architected for permanence. They are building a timeless pyramid, and Sagittarius is pitching a tent. Sagittarius values freedom above all else. But to Scorpio, the highest form of freedom is choosing your anchor, choosing where to commit your soul. When Sagittarius says, "Don't tie me down," Scorpio hears, "My love is not strong enough to hold you." When Sagittarius laughs off a deep, probing question, Scorpio hears, "You are not safe enough for my truth." Lightness, to Sagittarius, is survival. To Scorpio, lightness is absence. Eventually, Scorpio learns a devastating lesson. They were not trying to possess a wild spirit. They were trying to merge with a ghost. They were in love with a beautiful sunrise that was never meant to last past dawn. And when this realization hits, Scorpio doesn't lash out. They don't beg. They enact the ultimate protection of their heart. They retreat. They disappear. They become the home that Sagittarius can never return to, because it no longer exists on any map. The portal is closed, not out of spite, but out of a profound and heartbreaking act of self-preservation. Soul lesson from sign number 4. Not every goodbye is a slammed door. Some are the sound of footsteps fading into the distance, accompanied by laughter. Scorpio teaches us that if someone was never willing to stand still long enough to truly see your soul, their leaving was not a rejection, but a redirection. The greatest love is not about finding someone who will travel the world with you. It is about finding someone who will build one with you. The deeper truth, the nature of the soul's wounds. By now, you have seen the 4 great violations, but we must go deeper. For Scorpio does not react to a sun sign, they react to an energetic wound. Each of these 4 signs does not just annoy Scorpio, they press upon a specific, ancient, spiritual bruise. Gemini triggers Scorpio's primal fear of emptiness. Behind the glittering curtain of words, Scorpio senses a void. The wound is the terror that if they reach out for connection, their hand will pass through a beautiful illusion and grasp nothing but air. Gemini represents the soul that shows up loud, but is absent when it matters. Libra triggers Scorpio's primal fear of illusion. Scorpio's power comes from seeing the truth, no matter how ugly. Libra's insistence on a beautiful, curated reality feels like a deliberate attempt to blind them, to poison them with fake harmony. The wound is the feeling of being lied to with a smile, which to Scorpio is the most insidious betrayal of all. Aries triggers Scorpio's primal fear of violation. Having been through the fires of transformation, Scorpio's soul is a sacred, scarred, and heavily fortified territory. Aries' impulsive, unfiltered force feels like a constant siege, a threat of being broken open before they are ready. The wound is the fear that their passion will be met not with reverence, but with reckless destruction. Sagittarius triggers Scorpio's primal fear of abandonment. Scorpio loves with the intent of permanence. Sagittarius loves with the intent of experience. The constant energetic drift of the archer makes Scorpio feel that their profound depth is not a gift, but a burden that will inevitably cause the other to flee. The wound is the terror of being a place someone visits, but never a place someone calls home. What do these 4 fears have in common? They all threaten the one thing Scorpio needs to survive: emotional and spiritual integrity. Scorpio does not demand perfection. They have seen enough of their own darkness to know it does not exist. But they demand presence. They demand truth. They demand sovereignty. They demand commitment. They demand that the soul you present to them is the soul you actually possess. When any sign, through its inherent nature, repeatedly violates one of these sacred laws, Scorpio does not pass judgment. They make a diagnosis. The diagnosis is, this soul is not safe for me. And once that diagnosis is made, the treatment is always the same: a silent, strategic, and permanent amputation. So, if a Scorpio has ever walked out of your life, ask yourself these questions and answer them with the truth your soul knows, not the words your mouth would speak. Did I speak with the empty brilliance of a firework, leaving them in darkness? Gemini. Did I offer them a beautiful mask when they begged to see my real face? Libra. Did I burn their sacred ground with my carelessness and call it passion? Aries. Did my soul have its bags packed while I was telling them I loved them? Sagittarius. They may never have told you what you did, but you can be certain that they felt it. And once a Scorpio feels that soul-level dissonance, they do not wait for the story to end. They become the ending. The final question: can the portal be reopened? This is the question that echoes in the silence they leave behind. Can a Scorpio ever truly forgive? Can they unvanish? Most will tell you no. That once the portal is closed, it is sealed for eternity. But the truth is more complex, for Scorpio does not hold a grudge. They hold energy. They are the memory keepers of the Zodiac. They do not remember the facts of your betrayal. They remember the energetic signature of it. They remember how it felt. Forgiveness, for a Scorpio, is not a pardon. It is a resurrection. It can only happen if the energy of the original wound is not just healed, but transformed. It requires a rebirth in the one who committed the violation. They don't want your apology. They demand your evolution. So what does it take? Asterisk. For Gemini, they must discover the power of stillness. They must stop talking, stop explaining, and sit in the silence with Scorpio long enough for a truth deeper than words to emerge. When Gemini's presence becomes more real than their performance, the portal may crack open. Asterisk. For Libra, they must shatter their own beautiful mirror. They must be willing to show the chaos behind the curation, the rage, the fear, the messy, unfiltered truth. Scorpio can only trust a Libra who is brave enough to be ugly in front of them. When Libra chooses truth over peace, the portal may begin to open. Asterisk. For Aries, they must learn to be a hearth, not a wildfire. They must demonstrate that they have mastered their own fire, that they can use their passion to create warmth and safety, not just to destroy and dominate. When Aries can show their strength without it feeling like a threat, Scorpio may begin to lower the drawbridge. Asterisk. For Sagittarius, they must choose to stay. Not forever, just long enough to prove they are not a ghost. They must choose presence over freedom, demonstrating that they understand true freedom is found in a bond strong enough to anchor a wandering soul. When Sagittarius proves they are not just passing through, Scorpio may consider showing them the way back home. So yes, Scorpio can forgive, but do not mistake their forgiveness for softness. It is a sacred, demanding, and transformative fire, and it is reserved only for those who are brave enough to be reborn. Final sous leçon. We have walked through the shadows and returned. And what is the ultimate truth we have unearthed? That Scorpio's hate is never a personal attack. It is a spiritual defense mechanism. It is the soul's immune system responding to an energetic pathogen. They are not here to punish you. They are here to reveal you to yourself. Their silence is a mirror, reflecting back the truth of your own soul. They ask the ultimate question with their departure. Are you real? Are you willing to meet me in the depths where souls speak without words? The final lesson Scorpio teaches us is this: the people who love the deepest are often the ones who leave the quietest, not because they stopped caring, but because they cared so much that they could not bear to watch a soul lie to itself. And to them, they do not speak your name in anger after they leave. They whisper it to the universe and trust that karma knows the address. You are not here by accident. Your soul was guided to this truth for a reason. If you are ready to explore more truths that live below the surface, truths that are not afraid of the dark, subscribe. For here, we do not just read the stars, we decode the soul, and we are just beginning our journey into the shadows. I am ready to proceed. Let me check your thoughts.